Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel where we'll simplify Java concepts for you. Today I'll talk about strings, which is very commonly used in Java. Let's get started. String is a non-primitive data type that allows us to store a sequence of characters. Let's say I have two words, automation testing, which I want to store inside my Java program. So in that case, I'll have to use strings. Let me go to Eclipse and I'll type string word equal to automation testing inside double quotes. All right. Okay. So in our last video, we have talked in depth about data types, and in case you haven't watched it, I'll strongly recommend you to watch and get your foundation right. I'll also include the link of that video inside the description as well. So string is our data type here. Notice that it has a uppercase S. Okay. Yeah. Now, if I want to print it, I can simply use system.out.println. System.out.println, and I'll use word with a semicolon. Okay, and I'll save this program and I'll click on run. Okay, so it has printed automation testing in the output as expected. Now, inside any string variable, each character is indexed. So what do I mean by indexed? What I mean is each character is actually given a unique index. Let me go to my whiteboard and I'll show you. Yeah, so this is the meaning of index. Okay, so the letter A has an index of 0. The letter N has an index of 9, and there's a space between N and T characters, and in fact this space also has an index of 10. So there are total 18 individual characters in the word automation testing, including the space. And yeah, index starts from 0 and not 1, which is very important to remember. And then we can find each character using its individual index. For that, there's an inbuilt string method called as caret. Let's go to Eclipse and see this in action. So I have this variable called word and I have used println method. Okay, but instead of typing the complete method, we can do a shortcut actually. So I can type sysout and I'll press Control and space. I see this pop up and I simply press enter. Okay, so I get this complete method without having to type it myself. That's the beauty of Eclipse. And yeah, this sysout only works in Eclipse. So okay, now just type the variable name, which is word, and I'll simply press dot and it will show me all the available methods that I can use on this string, which is word. Okay, so in our case, the method we wanted to use is caret, which is the very first method. Note that even the method names follow a lower camel case convention, and since caret is made from two words, the very first word will start with the lowercase letter, which is C. Okay, and all the subsequent words start with the capital letter. In this case, it is capital A. Also, we can see that the description of caret method is shown here, which makes our job quite easy actually. So let me hit enter and provide the index as 0. Okay, right. Now, if we remove this index, Java will yell at us by throwing an error that the index is required, and we haven't given that. So let me provide an index. Okay, I'll remove this index first and I'll see this error. So if I bring my mouse here, it clearly says that the method is not in the type string is not applicable for the arguments. Why we get this error? Because we have removed this index. So I'll provide this index again. Okay, now I'll run my program. I'll simply do run as Java application and I got this output as A. Okay, which is the index of 0. Perfect. Okay, now for the very first time I cannot click on this green button, but for all the subsequent time onwards, instead of just right clicking and click on this run as Java application, I can simply click on this run button as well and I'll get the same output as A. Okay, so we have seen that the character A has an index of 0. In fact, we also have this space which has this index 10 and so on. So let me write sysout, control space, hit enter. I'll type str, I'll do word dot. Okay, so this time I'll see again all the methods, and this time I'll provide index as 10 instead of giving index as 0. So what will we get as an output? So this 10 is actually a space. Okay, similarly we can print the index of character T, which is index of 11. So what I'll do is I'll simply copy and I'll paste it here, and this time I'll use index as 11. And what I'll do is I can also comment out these two lines of code. I'll do command and / and I'll hit command S to save my code. Okay, so what I'll do is now I'll save the code and I'll run my program. I'll simply right click, run as Java application. Okay, so I see this output. Automation testing is this system.out.println. Then we have this A, which is word.caret at 0. then this is a blank space, which is word.character 10, and this index 11 is this T. Okay, now let's say I want to show multiple paragraphs as my string. For that, we can even use a multi-line string that spans multiple lines. And in order to do that, we have to use triple double quotes, which are also called as text blocks in Java. And this feature makes it easier to write and read multi-line strings. Let me give you a very simple example. Let's create a new variable called multi-line string. I'll hit enter. I'll do string multi-line string, which is following the camel case convention. Okay, and then I'll do equal to 3 times equal to. Okay, right, and I'll simply hit enter. Okay, so I'll have to put a semicolon here to remove this error, and the error is gone. Now we can type multiple lines easily. Okay, and in fact we'll use println method to print this multi-line string. What I'll do is I can simply type, let's say line 1, I can do line 2, and then I'll type line 3. Okay, now if I want to print all this together, what I'll do, I'll simply use system.out.println again. Okay, I'll do multi-line of string, and I'll do semicolon to mark the end of the string. I'll hit Command S and I'll click on this run button. Okay, so I see this as my output. Perfect. Now what I'll do is, let me do command and click on this string and see what it actually takes us to. I'll do command and click. Okay, so I'm inside this string.class. So what is the string.class? Actually, string is an inbuilt class in Java. Don't worry about the other stuff for now, which is pretty much complicated and mess actually, right? So I'll simply close it. I just wanted to show you that string is actually a class in Java. So string is not a primitive data type in Java, but Java has a very special support for strings, and that's why we can even create variables of primitive data types. Similarly, we can create variables of string. And so far, we have seen one way of creating a string. There's in fact a second way also, and that is by using the new operator. Let me show you. So this is the first way, which is string of word. In this second way, what I'll do is I'll use string name equal to new operator. I'll use this time. Okay, and I'll use new string, and I'll use double quote. I'll close it, and whatever I'll type here, it will become my new string. Let me type my name only. Okay, so this is the second way of creating a string. And what I'll do is I can simply run my Java program actually. I'll do Control S. Okay, and what I'll do is, before printing, I can use sysout. I'll do Control S, enter. I'll copy this name, I'll paste it here, save it, and I'll run. Okay, so I see my name as the output. Okay, so we have seen there are two ways. Okay, but what I've seen is like first way, this is the first way. It actually looks pretty simple and neat as compared to this second way, which looks a little, you can say difficult at times. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll switch back to my whiteboard. Okay, and we'll learn something more about strings. So strings are immutable and they cannot be changed. What I mean by that, it means when you create a string, its value is set once and for all, and it cannot be changed. Okay, for example, if you have a string called Rahul, so this value Rahul cannot be changed inside this name variable. And if you perform any operation that seems to modify a string like concatenation or something, a new string is created and the original string remains unchanged. That's the meaning of strings are immutable. And don't worry, we'll cover this in details in our coming videos. Okay, so in the variables video, we saw that we can change the variable value to anything as long as the new value is part of the existing data type. However, in the case of strings, we cannot change the value. So let me switch to Eclipse, and this is our string, which is automation testing, right? Okay, now what I'll do is we cannot change the value of this string. For example, I cannot change it to automation testing 1. I can in fact create a copy of this string, but I cannot modify this existing string, which is automation testing. Okay, so we'll cover this part in detail in our later videos, but for now, just try to learn and practice Java step by step. And we can also find out the length of our string if required, and it's very simple. So we can simply use the length method, and it's very commonly used. And yeah, we don't even have to remember the exact method name. What I'll do is I'll simply use name.len, and we'll see some suggestions. Let's see this in action. I'll use sysout again. Sysout, control space, hit enter. And this time, what's my string, which is word? I'll do word dot. Again, I'll see all these suggestions. I'll simply type len. Okay, so I can see this length method. Okay, and this is the description which says it returns the length of the string and it expects, okay, so it actually not expects, it actually returns an integer which is the length of the string. Okay, so I'll simply hit enter. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll simply do Control S and I'll run my code. Okay, so this is the length of my string which is 18. So what I'll say is like this string which is automation testing has a length of 18. So let's quickly learn about some other commonly used string methods. We have seen just two so far. First is caret, which expects an index, and second is we have seen this is a length method also. Next we have a concat method. Okay, I'll switch back to my whiteboard and see. Yeah, so we'll cover these methods also pretty quickly. So what is concat method? It actually joins two strings and creates a new string. And the very important thing here is that the original strings are unchanged. Okay, so let me switch to Eclipse and we'll see this in action. I'll do sysout again. I'll do Control and space, hit enter, and I'll do something like this. So this is my first string which is Piyush, and I'll type dot. I'll see suggestions given by Eclipse. I'll simply type con. Okay, so I'll see this method which is concat, and it says concatenates the specified string to the end of the string. So whatever string I'm going to provide now, it will be concatenated with this Piyush. So I'll hit enter and I'll type my surname with a space initially. Okay, so note that I've used a space. Why? Because in the final output, I want my name and surname to be separated by a space. That is why I've given the space here. Okay. Also, this is a better and in fact simpler way of concatenating, or in fact we can say joining two strings, and that is by using the plus operator. And in fact we have seen this in our earlier videos also. So instead of doing like this, I can do in fact use, let me just copy it. I'll do Piyush plus, I'll do this space Gupta. So if you can see, using this concat method is also simple, but using the plus operator is even more simpler actually. So let's simply run it. I'll save my program. I'll click on this green run button and I see Piyush Gupta, which is coming from this system.out.println, and this Piyush Gupta, which is coming from this system.out.println. So in fact we get the same output. Now in case you are wondering where do we use all these methods in real life, let me tell you, in real-time problems we actually use them pretty frequently, and we'll discuss in detail in our later videos. For now, let us just get familiar with the basic methods before we dive deep into real-world scenarios. Okay, so let me switch to my whiteboard and see. Okay, so we have this another method called substring. What does it do? It actually extracts a part of the string keeping the original string unchanged. For example, let's say I have a string called hello and I want to extract just the 3 characters from beginning. Then I can use the substring method. Okay, so let us see this in action. I'll create a string called greeting equal to hello. Okay, let's say keep it capital H. Yeah. Okay, now we'll extract only few characters from it. So I'll simply do sysout and I'll do control space, hit enter. Okay, so let's simply type greeting dot, and yeah, I'll type sub. So we can see there are two substring methods here. The first substring method takes just one argument and the second substring method takes the 2 arguments. So what does it mean? The first method takes one parameter called starting index, and whatever index we provide, it will print all the characters from that index to the end. So I'll simply hit enter and I'll provide say index of 2. Okay, so index is 2 here. So it will print all the characters from this index till the very end, and we'll get the output as LLO. Why? Because index 2 is this one and I'm using substring from this index onwards. So this is the output that we'll get. Okay, so let's try out the second method. So I'll simply copy and paste this system.out.println method. Yeah, and I'll remove this. I'll do sub. Okay, and I'll use the down arrow key and I'll hit enter. Okay, so now it is expecting 2 indexes. One is beginning index and second is ending index. All right. So what I'll do is, let me put the first beginning index as 2 and ending index as 3. Okay, I'll hit the save button. What I'll do is, yeah, so this time I'm getting the output as L. Why we get this output? It's because the first index is 2 and the last index is actually 3 minus 1, which is 2. So we are actually telling substring method to give us a substring from index 2 till 2 only. And since there's just one character at index 2, which is L, so we get this output in the console. Now, let's change this index from 3 to 4 and we'll see a different output. Now, I'll save, I'll hit run, and this time I'm getting L. Why? Because now we are extracting the characters from index 2 till 3. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So these are the two indexes. So L and L is the output now. Okay, now in case you are wondering, it is actually weird. So why? It's because Java is actually kind of wonderful language and we should accept it with its weird things. So let me switch to whiteboard now. Next we have is equals method. It is used to check if any two strings have the same characters, or in other words, if two strings are equal, and it returns either a true or false, which is of type boolean actually. Okay, so let's see this in action. I'll hit enter, I'll use this out, control space, enter, I'll type hello dot eq. Okay, so here is the equals method, and we can see that it accepts an object, or in other words, a string object only. I'll simply hit enter and I'll provide the same string, which is hello with H as in caps. Alright, so what is happening is we are comparing the same strings actually, and it should return true this time. So I'll simply hit save, click on the run. I'm getting this true in the output, which is as expected. Okay, so equals method does a case sensitive comparison. Okay, so what I'll do is, if I'll simply remove this h to small h now. So this h is capital and this h is small. Now if I'll run it after saving, this time I'm getting a false. Why? Because this is different from this. So it is very clear that this equals method actually does a case sensitive comparison. And in case we are interested in doing a case insensitive comparison, then for that we have another method called equals ignore case. So we can simply type equals, and if I just bring my mouse here, and it says compare this string to another string but ignoring the case considerations. So this time I'll hit enter, and now I'm passing all my string in lowercase. So this h is in capital and here it is in small. Now if I run this code, I'll get true as output. So it is completely ignoring the case, while in the earlier case, that ignores method, it doesn't ignore the case. Okay, so that's it for this particular video. Please do have a look at the notes I've prepared for you specially, and feel free to download them. And I hope you have liked this video. Please like it if you found it valuable. This actually helps this video to rank higher as per the algorithm, and consider subscribing for more technical content. And if you're liking my work, please share it on LinkedIn or with your friends, and stay tuned and happy learning. Piyush Gupta, your virtual coach, signing off.